an economy where experiences have become the predominant economic offering. That what people want today are experiences. And what that means is that goods and services become commoditized. That goods and services are everywhere becoming commoditized, where people don't care who makes them, they don't care about the features or benefits, they're always pretty much the same anyway. They care about three things and three things only. Price, price, and price. Right? That's when your goods and services have been commoditized. And that means it's time to shift up this progression of economic value to engaging individuals in an inherently personal way that creates a memory. Right? That's what an experience is. When you engage individual people in an inherently personal way and create that memory as the residue of experiences. A basic principle of the experience economy is that if you get your customers to experience your good before you buy it, the chances you will buy it, in fact, go up. And then there's another basic principle of the experience economy that if you get into staging experiences, it just doesn't hurt if George Clooney is your spokesperson. That is the economic value that you create with experiences. Right? You create more value, therefore customers are willing to pay more for those experiences that you have. Because what CX is let's make our interactions with our customers nice and easy and convenient. And nice and easy and convenient are all well and good, but they're service characteristics, not experience characteristics. When you get into the business of staging experiences, for which many companies hire a chief experience officer or a CXO, then recognize that nice is nice, but rarely does it rise to the level of memorability. And if you did not create a memory, did not engage your customers inside and create that memory, then it wasn't a distinctive experience. And finally, convenience is the exact opposite of what I'm talking about. Convenience means let's get in and out as quickly as possible. Let's spend as little time with the customer as possible. When with experiences, what people value is the time that they spend with you. That's what they're buying from you, is time. They value that time that they spend with you. But the distinction between services and experiences is about time. It's about time. That services provide time well saved, right? Get in and out as quickly as possible. In fact, consumers want goods and services to be commoditized. They want them to be bought at the cheapest possible price and the greatest possible convenience so they can spend their hard-earned money and their hard-earned time on the experiences that they value. So understand also that when you stage experiences, work is theater. Work is theater. It's not a metaphor. I don't mean work as theater. I literally mean work is theater. That whenever you or your workers are in front of customers, you're on stage. And your job is to engage them with the experience. Right? You never do offstage activity on stage. Understand that your work is theater. When you think about what theater is again, you look at these distinctions, it's what versus how. What versus how. With services, it's about the what. Right? It's the things that you do, the activities you perform, whether that is straightening merchandise or putting on price tags or handling a transaction, answering a question, leading somebody to their table, right? That's the what. But how you do what you do can turn any mundane interaction into an engaging encounter. So also, when you think about how work is theater, think about drama, that you need to create drama. What is drama? It's simply this, that you take your customers and you rise up to a climax and you come back down again. That's drama, right, in simple terms. What most companies do, particularly if they're looking at CX, if you're nice and easy and convenient, what does that mean? Nothing ever happens, right? They look at things happening as bad. Well, the customer can't find what they're looking for. That's bad. No, that's suspense. That's anticipation, right? Customer needs help. That's bad. No, right? This is an opportunity to solve their issue and create that great climax. Right? So one way to think about dramatic structure is what I call this 5E model, right? Where you have 5 different phases of the experience. So first of all, enticing. How do you entice people to want to come into your retail store, into your physical place? What's the first thing that happens then on the entering, which is that greeting again? How do you welcome your customers into your store? Then the primary phase of engaging. How do you engage them across their stay in your store? How do you handle any issues? How do you help them find what they want? How do you finish the transaction for them? And then you have the exiting. What's the last thing that happens? And one of the things that research shows is that what people remember the most is that climax of the experience and the last thing. But often we think about the last thing as just like they walk out the door and nothing ever happens. Right? So think about the exiting and what happens there, and then how do you extend? How do you extend that experience through time? One of the things that happens is memorabilia is a great way of extending things through time. In this progression of economic value, another key factor is that customization is the antidote to commoditization. Right? Commoditization drags you down. Commoditization is like the law of gravity. If you do nothing else, you'll be commoditized. Customization lifts you up. You can't help but be differentiated if you customize for each individual person. So if you customize a good, you automatically turn it into a service. Right? Where people, you work with each person individually, then you make that for them, then you deliver it to them individually. In the same way, if you customize a service, if you design a service that is so appropriate for a particular person, exactly the service that they need at this moment in time, then you can't help but make them go, wow, and turn it into a memorable event. Turn it into an experience. And ideally what you want to do with mass customization is you want to create what I call a learning relationship. You want a learning relationship that learns about each individual living, breathing customer. And you put them at the center of a very tight, virtuous circle so that every interaction you have with a customer, whether it's in a store, online, or over the phone, is an opportunity to learn about this individual living, breathing customer again. And the better you learn about them, the more you learn about them, the better you can customize to them. And the better you customize to them, the more value they're going to create. They're going to get the benefits from that customization. The more they benefit, the more they're willing to interact with you, and every interaction is an opportunity to learn. That you are what you charge for. You are what you charge for. If you charge for undifferentiated stuff, you're in the commodities business. If you charge for tangible things, you're in the goods business. If you charge for the activities your people perform, you're in the services business. But economically, you're in the experience business if and only if you charge for time, because that's what your customers value. That's what your customers value is, again, the time that they spend with you. Now, in any one of these economic shifts, what always happens is we tend to give away the next level of value in order to better sell what we have today. So what I always like companies to do is to ask yourself, even if you think I'm crazy, even if you think we could never charge admission in our stores, right? Ask yourself, but what would you do differently if you did? What would you do differently if you charged admission? Right? And then think about what the possibilities are, because then you will start really thinking out there about in terms of experiences and creating much greater experiences than you would otherwise. So let me close by saying that you can stay in the illusory safety of past practices and keep on doing the same things you've always been doing, in which case, mark my words, you will be commoditized. Or you can shift up this progression of economic value to staging experiences for each one of your individual customers, and then you'll be economically rewarded. Gracias. Muchas gracias.